My name is Owen Brooks. I'm with the Smith Robertson Museum in Jackson, Mississippi. I'm doing their oral history project. And I'm in Washington, D.C. this Saturday morning, June 10th, 2006. And I have with me as my guest Mr. Leslie Dunbar. And Mr. Dunbar is going to share some of his life story with us. And Mr. Dunbar, may I begin by asking you, do I have your permission to do this interview?
Yes, you do.
Thank you, sir. And let's start us off in the manner in which you would, whatever way you want to, and letting us understand something about your background, where you were from originally, and something about your folks, and maybe your brothers and sisters, if you had any.
Well, that's a big order. I'm a native of West Virginia, Lewisburg, West Virginia, which is down in the southern tier of the state. I lived there until I was 9, at which time my dad had fell in hard times, and he moved us all to Baltimore. In Lewisburg,
What was your dad's name, sir?
Marion, M-A-R-I-O-N. We had, and when we moved to Baltimore, my mother ran a boarding house.
Okay.
So,
Was your dad originally from West Virginia?
oh yes.
Okay.
His family had been in West Virginia at the same corner since I think the 1750s.
Oh my goodness. Hmm.
So it's an old family.
Old family.
Most gone.
And your mama's name was?
Her name was Minnie Crickenberger.
Minnie.
Probably can't do the Crickenberger.
Uh-oh.
Actually, it's an unusual name, but there'd be lots of them in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, which is where she was from.
She was from Virginia?
Shenandoah Valley.
Uh-huh.
But
Mm-hmm. What was her maiden name? Crickenberger.
Crickenberger.
All right, I got it.
I think the story is that a number of Hessian soldiers deserted after the Revolutionary War and settled there.
Oh.
Which is why you have a number of German names.
German names.
We have another man who lives here at Ingleside,
Mm-hmm.
who's from the Shenandoah Valley. His name is Funkhauser.
Oh my.
So they're really
So there are many German names.
These German names.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I grew up pretty much in Baltimore.
All right.
After that, though I've never lost my roots in West Virginia. Used to go down there frequently. In fact,
What year were you born, Les?
1921.
1921.
Can you go back that far?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I was born 28,
We were
so I'm
in,
not too far away from it. Baltimore, Maryland. Where'd you live in Baltimore?
Mainly, and you know the city?
No, I don't.
In the Druid Hill Park
Okay.
section, I would say. Lived on Linden Avenue, much of which has now been urban renewed.
Mm-hmm.
It's so non-existent.
Linden?
Yeah.
Linden Park, you said?
No, Linden Avenue,
Linden Avenue.
near Druid Hills Park.
Yeah, Druid Hills Park. Okay, I got that.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to early school?
Oh, PS 14, PS 49.
PS 14 and PS 49. Did you have brothers and sisters, Les?
Yeah, so they're all passed.
Yeah, how many brothers, how many sisters did you have?
Well,
It's all
I
right.
had four brothers, three brothers, four sisters.
3 brothers and 4 sisters. Okay, that's good enough. 4 sisters. Okay. Mhm.
But I was the youngest of the family, and now I'm the only survivor.
Oh, yes. Mhm. All right. So you went to PS 14 and PS 49 till what grade?
Well, until I got into high school.
Okay, so that was the elementary?
Yeah, junior
Yes.
high,
All right,
junior high.
junior high. And you went to high school in Baltimore?
Yes, I did. Yeah, well, Baltimore is a borderline place, but we had always, in fact, Greenbrier County, which was my county in West Virginia.
Mhm.
It's a borderline place too, with the Confederate monument. In this town, we had the Confederate monument. There had been a Civil War battle there, a couple of them, as a matter of fact.
Mhm.
I think Robert E. Lee even had an early command.
Mm.
The Confederates usually got licked in West Virginia. The Union Army, the only important part of the state for the war was there was a railroad. I can't think of the name. Not a railroad, but a turnpike.
Mhm.
I can't think of the name of it right now.
Well, was Harper's Ferry in Virginia or West Virginia?
West Virginia.
It was in West Virginia, I thought it was.
Are you going? Yes. And the Union Army was intent on preserving this turnpike that went through the state on out into Ohio. That's why they battled around there.
Mhm.
Right up the road from us was about a Droop Mountain, DROOP.
D-R-O-O-P.
I never understood why they did, but they killed each other there.
Mm.
And
How about
it's
John
a
Brown?
wonderful picnic place now.
Yeah,
Battlefield.
John Brown had some
I don't know.
roots in West Virginia, from
Did
what
he?
I read. Oh, yeah.
Probably
Mhm.
did.
Yes.
But and of course, West Virginia during this time seceded from the Union,
Okay.
from the Confederacy.
Mhm.
Greenbrier County went with the secession. I
Mhm.
think it was very divided.
Mhm.
So they said all the, but Baltimore was divided too. The state zone still was called Maryland by Maryland, which celebrates the,
Well, the Mason-Dixon
we had
was in the vicinity, wasn't it?
just farther north.
Farther north? Okay.
Lewisburg is farther south than Richmond, Virginia, as a matter of fact.
Mm.
But in Baltimore, when I grew up, that PS 14 was the Sidney Lanier School.
Mm.
PS 49 was the Robert E. Lee School. So these are all great Southern icons.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that's right.
But it was mixed up.
All right, so you went to high school in Baltimore.
At Baltimore City College.
Baltimore.
It's called a college, but it wasn't. It was high school.
Right.
And I had my best education there.
Mhm.
It was a great high school.
Great high school.
I don't know what's happened to it since.
Does it still exist in that name?
I'm not sure.
Not sure?
I think it
I
does.
think it is. Mhm. All right, that's fine. Okay, and you finished high school during the Depression, I would imagine.
1937.
37. Mhm. you. And where'd you go from there, Les?
Oh, well, actually, when my first year of college was at Maryland State Teachers College.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't really afford to go anyplace else,
Maryland State.
which is in Towson, Maryland. It is now called Towson State, I think.
Oh, okay.
And it's not a teacher's college anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But after 1 year there, I transferred to the University of Maryland.
Mm-hmm. How long did you go to Towson? 2 years? 1 year. And then to the University of Maryland?
Yes, in College Park.
Okay. Hmm. Anything, any vivid remembrances of your college years?
Yeah, lots.
Oh, good. Share some.
But I did not live on campus.
Okay.
I always had a job back in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
So I hitchhiked mainly between Baltimore and College Park.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes had a carpool. Often had a carpool, probably. But often hitchhiked. You could do that, and
In those days? Mm-hmm.
people would stop for you. I don't know whether people stop for hitchhikers anymore.
Not so much. I hitchhiked in Georgia when I was a young fellow. That was dumb, but I used to hitchhike from Boston to New York.
Yeah.
That was stupid too, but I did it. Came down here to Washington DC hitchhiking from Boston. So, but they don't do that kind of thing
I would think
anymore.
at least 2 days out of 5 for the school I would hitchhike.
You would hitch 2 days out of that?
Well, home. I usually had a carpool going to school.
Mm-hmm.
But not always. Sometimes I had to hitchhike out to the school. Anyway, that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But at Maryland, I majored in political science. Had some good teachers, had some bad teachers. But I learned, I think, some things.
You enjoyed your days at U of Maryland?
Well, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I graduated, the war was on.
Okay.
I got out in 41,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know what to do, so I figured I'd be drafted very quickly.
Hmm.
So I sought a job, and I went to work for
Mm-hmm.
Glenn Martin Company, which was making airplanes.
Mm. Morton, M-O-R-T?
No, Glenn L. Martin.
Oh, Glenn L. Martin, oh yes, I know Glenn L. Martin.
I think it's gone through a whole lot of corporate metamorphoses.
Oh,
since
yes,
It's
it
now
has,
the Martin
since those
Marietta
days.
Company,
Right.
getting bigger all the time. We had, but I worked there, and to my surprise, was rejected when I came up for a draft
Mhm.
on health grounds.
4F?
Yeah, 4F,
I don't know about
which
that.
I couldn't, I'd hardly believe.
Here you are, still here. How about that?
Well, I spent a lot of time over the next couple of years petitioning for reclassification,
Oh? Mm.
because I just wanted to be in the Army,
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of obvious reasons. And I actually came up for another examination in 43, I think, 44. And
Mm.
once again was rejected, so never understood. had my own private doctors. Right, that I was in good health.
To know,
I had apparently had, well, I did have a very severe case of pneumonia in about 1940. And one theory was that in recovering from it, I had contracted TB but then got rid of it. But anyway, I was rejected.
mm-hmm.
So I worked at Morton's all during the war. And had actually a fairly good job
Mm.
in their subcontracting department, procurement department. At the end of the war, I applied to graduate school, went up to Cornell University.
Cornell?
Yeah. So that's where I did my graduate work.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, during the war, I added to my, I took some classes at Johns Hopkins. I've completed 2 years of law school at the University of Maryland Law School, then I dropped it. But at any rate, I had a bunch of credits.
Mm-hmm. The law school was at Maryland?
Yeah, I didn't finish.
Okay.
Both the Maryland Law School is in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. Was that during the war or after the war?
Oh, during.
Grad school. Mm-hmm.
Oh, graduate school. I went in 45. As
Oh.
soon as the war was over, I applied and I got accepted at Cornell.
Oh, okay.
And got a master's degree in 46 and a PhD in 48.
Mm-hmm.
Too fast, but I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been married in 42. So you just met her.
Oh boy, that is a long marriage. Married in, what did you get married? 42, did you say? Oh boy. Congratulations. Boy, that's a long time. Hmm.
60-some years now with the same woman. How about that?
How about that?
Okay.
You're to be commended to both of you, my lord. Hmm. Okay. And after the war, let's see, where did you do your doctorate?
At Cornell.
At Cornell? Mm-hmm. Cornell. That was in 48.
Yep.
You remember Truman, the presidential? You remember Dewey and Truman and Henry Wallace? I was in the Henry Wallace campaign. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. I was so excited. That was the first presidential campaign I was actively involved in. This is a friend of mine, I would imagine. How are you, young man?
My goodness, you bad as I am.
Maybe a little worse. Give me a hug, man. Good to see you. Maybe it's good to see you.
Good to see you. You're looking good too.
Looking good? Well,
Yeah.
you know, if it weren't for these legs, I may do even a little better, Kay.
Yeah.
Come sit around front where we
No,
go.
that's all right. You go ahead. I'll sit and listen for a little while.
You're just including him if you want.
Yes. Cornell University. All right, where were we? In 1948. What'd you do in 48? I told you what I did. What'd you do?
Well, I finished my
Your doctorate?
doctorate.
Okay.
Then I got a job teaching at Emory University
At Emory in Atlanta?
in Atlanta.
Okay.
I thought of it as my return to the South.
Oh, boy. Atlanta. Okay, good.
Emory is, it has become a much richer school.
And when you were there.
Yeah, well, it was okay then.
Mhm.
When I was at Emory in 48, 51, it was
What were you teaching?
the best liberal arts college in Georgia.
Mhm.
I was teaching political
Political
science,
science.
political theory.
Mhm. All right. And what kind of stories you remember from those days?
Stories?
Sure. That you were impressed by, or that you told, or some things happened there. That was a interesting time.
I was impressed. Yeah. Georgia politics at that time was just
It was for the
terrific.
birds. It was bad.
I came there just at the end of the phase when they had two governors at once. But they were still fighting about the gubernatorial. The first election of mine, residency in Georgia, was when M.E. Thompson
Mhm.
did finally get elected. He had
What year was that?
48.
48?
But he was governor for a while, but then I guess in 50.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they had a special election in 49, I'm not sure. You
Well-
can check it out, you got all kinds of.
Were they Dixiecrats? I have a vague remembrance.
No, Herman Talmadge.
Talmadge?
He was elected, so Herman was the governor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his daddy was Gene Talmadge.
Yes. He was
He
notorious.
died just before he took office.
Mm-hmm.
We had the Georgia politics was very colorful at that time.
Mm-hmm.
It was also atrocious. I think Georgia at that time rivaled Mississippi as the worst state in the
Yeah,
South.
they were bad. They said they were.
Where were you from?
I was in Boston in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
But I
was
think
in the
those
war. I
times,
was in
in
the Korean War.
those years, Georgia and Mississippi would have ranked together at the bottom of the pit.
Yeah, right.
Georgia was dominated by, in a way, dominated by the red hats, or the rednecks, we call them.
And the chain
But
gang
they were,
mentality.
they were, the real dominance was the banks of Atlanta.
Mm.
Georgia had was in the throes of the county unit system. You know what that meant?
Mm-hmm.
The county unit system, which finally got invalidated by the Supreme Court. But every county in Georgia had 159 counties.
Mm-hmm.
159.
159.
Probably
Mississippi
still
had
does,
80.
as far as I know, may still have that.
It's ridiculous.
But those 159 counties each had
Administrator.
there were 2-vote counties, 4-vote counties, and 6-vote counties. I think that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And so Fulton County, let's say, would be a 6-vote county,
Mm-hmm.
because it's the most populous county in the state. But three little 2-vote counties would balance out for Atlanta. So you can never elect a governor from Atlanta.
Mm.
You couldn't elect Georgia, Atlanta's votes in a senatorial, U.S. senatorial election were just thrown away.
Sure.
Because,
The might and power of world politics. Well, Mississippi was much the same.
not quite
style.
that bad.
Not quite that bad.
But at any rate, it was kind of interesting too, that right away when I moved down, I fell in with what liberals there were in Atlanta. And so
Mhm.
Oh, they always had this feeling, as you had in Mississippi, of being part of a beleaguered minority.
Mm.
The case that finally upset the county unit system in Georgia was led by, well, actually several, but one lawyer who led it was a man named Morris Abram,
Oh, I remember him.
Abram.
Mhm.
And, but we had, well, they didn't finally end until they one man, one vote decision of Scott Sanders,
Yeah.
which came out of Alabama.
Now, you stayed at Emory how long?
I stayed at Emory for 3 years, 3.5,
Which three?
48, 51.
48, 51. Did I get that? Yes, I think I did.
I really needed to make some more money because I had 2 children by that time. And the Emory salaries were ridiculous. I enjoyed being at Emory, but I just couldn't make it any longer. So,
Where'd you go from there? That was Cold War era.
across the river. In 51, this was at the height of the anti-communist frenzy.
Right.
And Gay will remember this. Yes. The Russians got the bomb, and we were all
I remember that.
excited about that. The Russians got the bomb.
Yes.
So we had to build the H-bomb.
H-bomb.
This is not the accurate way to put this. This is what the way we were put in 49, 50, 51.
McCarthy
We had
era.
to build the H-bomb. And the H-bomb plant, wherever that be, it ended up in Savannah River,
Mm.
South Carolina. So they were hiring people down there, and as I said, I had to make some money, more money than I was making ever. So there was a vacancy for charge of community affairs
Where at?
at the Savannah River plant.
Oh, the Savannah River plant. I mean, you were serious about that.
I got it. So I became chief of community affairs
Mm.
at Savannah River plant.
Mm.
And that was fun.
Now, that was
We
located.
moved in there, I read these figures today, which don't seem like we used to do things bigger. But we pulled over 40,000 temporary construction workers in the Aiken and Barnwell County, South Carolina.
Mm.
And, over 40,000 lived there at one time.
Wow.
We had to find places for them to live,
Mm.
and that's what I worked on.
Were they working on the building of that?
Yeah,
of that
it was
plant?
Construction work.
The construction
It's a
of the
huge
plant.
plant.
Oh, Lord.
We had 5 reactors there,
Mm.
2 separation plants, big heavy water plant.
Mm.
I don't know what the dimensions of it are now.
Now, where, that plant was located close to what major city?
Well, the reason it was built there, one reason, they had a number of reasons. They had to be close to a river, so they were close to the Savannah River.
Mm-hmm.
Atomic Energy Commission had been burned so much by owning towns. They own Oak Ridge, Tennessee, they own Richlands in
Yeah.
Washington. They didn't want to own anything. So one reason for locating the plant where it was, in addition to the physical reasons, was that it was thought that the towns around there could absorb the working force. So we were close to Augusta, Georgia.
Augusta.
And we were close to Aiken, South Carolina. And then there were 2 or 3 other small towns, Williston, Blackville, Barnwell, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Turned out, when we began recruiting workers, they didn't like staying in those little towns. Especially they didn't like, we built dormitories for single men. They
Mm.
don't like them at all. They
Yeah, right.
stay in those dormitory.
Mm.
They found other places to stay.
I'm sure.
We had,
How long did you work
we
there?
all brought in trailers. We had huge
Trailers?
trailer camps.
Trailer camp.
5,000 trailers in one camp in one place. A real
Okay.
city.
How long did it
We had
take to
put
build that
40,000
plant?
people together.
How long did it take to build the plant?
Well, that plant was up and running by the time I left, which was 55, 56.
1955, 56?
So things seem to take longer to do these days.
Yeah.
But that, so my job was working with relocating, housing people, but also with the schools. We had to expand these schools. I got to be an expert about
Mm.
schools. One result of that is that I blacked out for my own comprehension, anything having to do with housing. Never able to deal with housing again.
Mm.
But, you know, it was a big job.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Not only schools and.
40,000
housing, but
construction
we had to do sewers and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And the permanent workforce was slated to be about 7,500. So at the
Mm.
same time, we had these temps. We were getting some housing built for what we hope would be acceptable housing for permanent workers. We scattered, I don't know, maybe, I forget how many now.
Did you stay there until the end, to the finish of the construction, Les? In 56, were you there right up there?
I quit, I left there in 55.
Left in 55?
54, 55. I applied for and got a Guggenheim Fellowship.
Okay, left in
And,
1955.
I wanted to go back to academic life.
Guggenheim.
I was
Fellowship.
fortunate enough to secure a Guggenheim.
Where'd you go with that?
Well, actually, I stayed there. I
Stayed
left
in Georgia?
South Carolina,
Oh, South Carolina.
living in Aiken.
Okay.
I left the plant, I left the job down there, and just holed up, you know. Maybe you want us to take time off and travel, but I don't know, I should have done that. But instead, I just holed up at home,
Mhm.
some commuting up to University of South Carolina Library. Just worked on my project.
What was your project during that time?
Well, I never,
Hmm?
you know what it is. It was a study of the what I call the rationalist tradition.
The rationalist tradition. Well, that's a challenge.
Political philosophy.
Yes, I guess it is.
So I did a whole lot of work.
Alright.
I didn't think travel would enhance it, so that's why I just holed up with it. I did like living in Macon.
What's that? I didn't hear that.
I didn't have to, I had to get a job again, so I would like to have stayed in the South, but I just didn't succeed in finding a place I wanted. But I was recruited by Mount Holyoke College.
Oh, yeah, that's up my way. Mount Holyoke,
So we went up to Massachusetts,
Massachusetts.
which was okay too.
Now, that was an all-girls school to my remembrance, wasn't it?
It was. Used to have some boys come over from Amherst.
Mhm.
A
Mm-hmm.
few of them. I think now that, I'm not sure. But I think there's much more than, Smith, Mount Holyoke, Hampshire,
Yeah, that'll, and
Amherst.
UMass.
They have I understand they have a bus that just goes around
That's right.
taking students from
One campus to the other. Mhm. My daughter, I had a daughter, well, I have a daughter that taught at UMass Amherst for about 10 years.
She did.
She's still in Western Massachusetts. She's practicing law now. So you stayed up that way how long?
I left there in 1958.
Okay, you went there in
No, I
1955.
went there in 55. In 58, the civil rights thing was booming.
Mm-hmm.
And during my years in Atlanta and Emory, I got to know people. And I got interested in an organization there called the Southern Regional Council.
Somehow or other I heard about that organization.
At that time, SRC's
Yeah.
leader was George Mitchell, who was a
Mm-hmm.
fabulous sort of fellow. And his assistant was a man named Harold Fleming.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have him. So in 50, and I had stayed in touch. Matter of fact, George Mitchell one time came over to Atlanta, Aiken, and offered me a job. Didn't take it. The reason he was doing that is that they just got the sizable grant from the Ford Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have any money before that. They got this grant. He asked me to come over
Mm-hmm.
and work on it. I didn't do it.
You didn't go then, though.
I didn't go.
Mm-hmm.
But then 58, so, as I said, I'd stayed in touch. And so Harold asked me to come back. He had got this grant from
Harold
Fleming.
Fleming,
He
yeah.
had got this grant from the Rockefeller Brothers Fund.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me to come down to help put it in motion, help organize it, help the project. So I did. I went back to Atlanta and spent the summer, hot summer. Boy, it was hot that summer.
58.
58. Well, really, I think by the end of that summer, I didn't want to go back to teaching girls, so I just didn't. I wanted, I was caught up in this thing now. So, Harold worked out a plan for me to come there permanently.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to Mount Holyoke and taught that one semester, just to kind of fulfill my obligations. I joined the SRC full-time in January '59.
January 59. Okay.
So that's where I was.
That's where you were.
They called me Director of Research.
Director of Research.
We did a whole lot of public propaganda work.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was pretty valuable. I hope it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think under Harold's tenure and later mine, SRC became, we became the center of information.
Mm-hmm.
We built up good relationships with the press. I think it's fair to say that we were the first stop for reporters.
That were interested particularly in race relations?
Particularly in civil rights.
In civil rights?
We put out a lot of reports, a lot of pamphlets, a lot of everything, but we kept files.
Mm-hmm.
I think SRC, during Harold's time and my time, had the best civil rights library in the South. We had all these clippings. We subscribed to newspapers all around the place, and we clipped them.
Right.
And anyway, there's
Who else was on the staff?
Harold left.
Who else was on the staff with you at the SRC during those years that you remember?
Oh, I remember it all. Actually, we built up a very fine staff. I won't
Sure
try
you
to
did.
separate it, but we had Paul Rilling, who now I think teaches at Anniston down in Alabama.
Mhm.
We had Paul Anthony, who succeeded me, Fred Ralph, who went off to Michigan to be head of their employment commission. We had Maggie Long, who I used to say the Atlanta Journal supplied our recruiting. They kept firing their good people and we would hire them.
You have.
But Maggie Long, a great fine columnist,
Yes.
Pat Waters, another
Oh, yeah, I
one.
remember that
You remember him?
one.
Reese Cleghorn.
Didn't know him.
Well, Reese worked, Reese went on to become head of journalism at the University of Maryland.
Mm.
And we hired Vernon Jordan.
Oh, yes.
And,
He was the first director of the Road Education Project,
No,
wasn't he?
second.
Second? Oh, I thought he was the first. I always
First
thought
was
he was.
Wiley Brenton.
Wiley Branton, of course. Yes.
Wiley, I think, is
Yes.
one of the
Shame on me.
unsung heroes of the civil rights movement.
Wiley Branton, yes.
But he,
You know, his sister was in Mumbai when I got there, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
Wiley was, I always said that my principal contribution to the voting rights movement, the voting education project, was recruiting Wiley and persuading him to come. You know, he'd been a successful lawyer out in Arkansas.
Out in Arkansas, yeah.
Was actually the attorney for the Little Rock Seven.
Mhm.
Wiley's just a wonderful human being and a good lawyer. And he organized he and I organized the first voter education project, which he directed. I just raised money for it
Mhm.
and supported it. We also had Randolph Blackwell.
Oh, Randy, yeah. I remember Randy. Untimely death when he passed. He wasn't that
Randy
old.
was a really good guy.
He was a really good guy. Yes, he was. I remember very
He
well.
became Wiley's assistant or
Mhm.
but I had helped recruit Randolph. He was teaching at some college in Alabama, one of the historically black colleges.
Yeah.
I forget which
I don't
one.
remember which one it was.
We
Alabama
also,
State or Alabama.
Weldon Rougeau for,
Weldon Rougeau, there's a name from the
he
past.
came for,
Yeah.
he worked on the voter education project.
Mhm.
Then I see you recruited, interviewed Dorothy Zellner,
Mhm.
her husband.
Dunbar, yeah.
When last year sometime, maybe 2 years ago,
Mhm.
we had a funeral service up here for Jim Foreman.
Oh, yeah, Jim. Yeah.
I got bad information from them, which I still resent. I called to see just what the times were, and I was given something like 9 o'clock in the morning. So that's when I showed up. Well,
Yeah.
that was just the time for assembling.
That was the time for his own.
So
I
I
got
sat
bad
through much of
information,
that.
too. You weren't the only one who got bad information on that. I did too.
Well, by the time the program was to begin around 12 or 1, I'd had it.
Mhm.
I figured I'd seen some people
Yeah.
wanted to come home. So I missed the service, but I was there for the preparations.
Yes.
they had but Dot Silver was there, and she reminded me that I had fired her, which I had done.
Good you had though. How long did you stay at SIC?
January '59 till October '65.
October 65?
I was offered a job of head executive director of the Field
Field
Foundation
Foundation, that's
up in New York, so I took it.
Mhm.
You may remember the Field Foundation was just deeply involved with civil rights.
Oh, yes, I remember that
So
very well.
I did not feel as though I was leaving the field, I just
Mhm.
took a different position. So that's my biography.
So how many things did you, what kinds of remembrances do you have about either your days at SIC, some other remembrances that you might have had, or some remembrances during your term as director of the Field Foundation? A lot went on in those days.
Just so much.
Yeah.
it's-
And Field was
I
original.
always got, because he is such an interesting person, was such a great person, I did get to know King. I first met Martin in the preparation for the voter education project. We had a lot of preliminary meetings for the, I first met Martin King,
63, before that?
earlier,
Earlier than that, 58,
61.
61.
I've always had a sneaking think that I met him before that, while he was a student in Morehouse, but I can't pin it down.
Mhm.
Sneaky feeling. But the, well, the voter education project, which seems to be of eternal interest to researchers, was started, what- people always want to know how it started and figure the Kennedys started it or something, which they didn't.
No. Definitely not.
The VEP began with, as far as I was concerned, with my receiving a call from my predecessor, Harold Fleming,
Mhm.
who by this time was in Washington running something called the Potomac Institute, and very, very close to the Kennedy administration people. And the idea, Kennedy and Harold was also very close still to the foundation community in New York. VEP originated as a plan for getting foundation money into civil rights. It wasn't much before that. So SRC was virtually the only tax-exempt committed organization. The Urban League was, the Urban League, the National Urban League, just, I think I can say this fairly, was not as active as was SRC.
Well, that's true.
You know,
That is true.
so the,
Mhm. Certainly that's
so
true.
a kind of pot of money was rooted to be available if the civil rights movement could come together with a decent plan.
Mhm.
So we had all these preliminary meetings, and it was in the course of them that I met King. At this time, I was still fairly new. I just taken over as the executive directorship of SRC in '61.
Mhm.
when Harold moved off to Washington.
Now, what role did you all play with the March on Washington?
That was '63.
I know. You were there.
I did not go up. I did send Margaret along, and I sent Pat Waters up to
Okay.
cover.
That's good.
But I didn't go myself.
And you actively supported it fund-wise, right?
I think we did.
Yeah, you did. I know you did.
But the,
Fleming was involved with National Council, wasn't he, Gay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Harold Fleming, yeah. He was at the General Board, I know he was. And I think he was an office holder of some kind.
but at any rate, I met King in those days. Well, we had these meetings, we'd have the meetings to plan.
Mm-hmm.
And King was be there representing SCLC. He had asked to meet me privately beforehand, because he said, I don't know you and I'd like to meet you before we go ahead. So one Saturday morning, came around to the SRC offices and I fixed the coffee. He sat there and we talked. I guess he became comfortable with me, and so that was my first real one-to-one meeting with Martin.
Mm-hmm.
I got to know him better. I have one place or another I've written down, published a couple of vignettes, my relationship with him.
Well, you helped organizations like the Delta Ministry. You surely helped my organization. And I know you helped Ed Brown with Rich Mace.
After.
That was that after you were
From
gone?
the Field
From the Field Foundation, yeah.
As I said, when I left SRC to go to Field, I did not think I was leaving the civil rights field.
Right.
It just was too.
How many did you make specifically? I was trying to remember whether you came to Mississippi during your period at Field Foundation. Do you remember coming?
Oh, sure.
Many times? You met Amcy?
Amcy Moore.
Amcy Moore?
And you need a Blackwell.
You need a Blackwell? Mm-hmm. Mrs. Heyman?
Peggy, my wife, still talks about Unita.
Oh, you need it.
I can't remember the occasion, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes Peggy would travel with me. We'd come down there, and then we had to get an airplane home out of Memphis, airplane to someplace. And Unita rode with us, and Peggy always remembered that she shared the back seat with Unita Blackwell. Unita was eating her fried chicken. Where is she now? She's still mayor?
No, but she's in Issaquah County. She's in Myersville, her home
Yeah.
county. She
Well,
was
she-
the mayor of Myersville for a long time.
Not still.
No, not still, no. But she still gets around.
Do you ever know Unita Blackwell?
I knew of her, but I don't think I ever.
Never met her again?
I don't think I ever met her personally.
Okay. And then, of course, did you go to Atlantic City in '64? To the Democratic Convention?
Not to the Democratic Convention.
Okay.
But I went up to Atlantic City, I think in '64, to speak to some occasion.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. What about Democratic Party politics? To what degree did you involve yourself? Can you help me understand
I
that?
don't know.
That's all right.
I had in '68, I guess it was,
Chicago?
before that.
Before that?
Some people thought I would be helpful in the McCarthy campaign
Eugene McCarthy?
by
Mhm.
I say someplace in the book, this is one of my great failures. I was supposed to be, they hoped that I could recruit some of the black leadership in New York to listen to MacArthur.
To listen to you.
So I put on a little fundraiser for him in New York, and I think about 10 people.
Oh, 10 people showed up. He
It was just clear that.
He was not a great favorite in the black community.
That's right.
That's right.
He was making a speech that night, and he did have a big turnout in that speech, but I think the turnout was mainly white.
What about Jesse?
I'm, you know, way back, I'm pretty sure I met Jesse. I've never had a talk with Jesse. Never.
Jesse Jackson, yeah.
Why should he talk to me?
Well, great basket and, you know, his organizational adventures, shall I say, in Chicago. Yeah.
We never contributed.
You never did? I didn't know.
Perhaps if we had, I would have got to know Jesse.
Right, I just asking a question, that's all. Okay. Well, Field was certainly instrumental in helping a lot of frontline organizations during movement days.
Well, I hope we were. And, you know, John Lewis came to work for Fields.
Oh, yeah. And he was also a director of the EP at one time.
I think the sequence there is that when John was cast out by Snick, where was he going to go? We hired him. He came up to New York and he worked for the Field Foundation.
The Field Foundation.
A couple of years. Year and a half, 2 years. One of my board members, all the time I was at Field, was Carl Holman.
Carl Holman.
Did you know Carl?
Yes, I know. Yes, I have. I have.
You know, Carl was another one of the unsung heroes of the civil rights movement. I think he's just outstanding. But,
Well, we got it.
Carl had, as I said, he was on my board, and John was cast out at SNCC, and Carl and I talked, and I talked to other board members, and we hired him. And for those couple of years, he was on my staff.
Did he go from there to VP?
He, not quite. The Southern Regional Council, they had, I don't know what you call it, but they had their own kind of grassroots program by that time. And so he was hired by SRC, which also was administrative DEP. He was hired by SRC to come back and direct this community program they had. So I guess he did that for a few months, maybe a year, and then he took over VAP. He succeeded at Vernon. It was Vernon that.
Vernon Judd.
Yeah, Vernon came up here to direct the United Negro College Fund.
Oh yeah, I forgot that.
John became director of VAP.
And who was, let's see, at that time, who was the head of SRC?
Paul Anthony.
Paul Anthony, okay. Did you come to Mrs. Hamer's funeral, Les? I don't remember. I know I put that. You didn't come to that? 77. Where were you in that?
Was it whose funeral?
Fannie Lou Hamer.
Oh.
Seems to me I saw you in New York. It must have been at a memorial service then. I think you went to a
I'm
memorial
not
service.
a good funeral goer.
You're not a good funeral goer. Well, that was in the
Well, I
funeral.
did come back to Atlanta for Martin's funeral.
Martin's funeral, yeah. Mm-mm. After you left Field, which way did you go? Well, how long did you stay at Field? Maybe I don't have a clear.
I stayed there 15 years.
15? Ooh, I didn't realize that. So that would have put you where?
60. 1980.
1980. Hmm. Mm-hmm. I made a couple of trips up there to see you. Yeah. 1980. Then I went sabbatical. Where'd you go? I went on sabbatical in 1980.
I didn't take a sabbatical.
You didn't take a sabbatical?
No, never had one. I left Field on my own. Probably should not have done it, but I fell out with the board chair, and I should just have stuck it out, but I didn't. I left. So that ended a great ride that I did. Then I did a lot of consulting work, and I actually worked for 2 years for the Ford Foundation.
Oh,
The worst 2 years of my life.
oh Lord.
By that time, I was old enough to retire, so I did.
Mhm. You remember Ed Brown?
Ed Brown,
Mhm.
where is Ed now?
Ed's in Atlanta.
What's he doing?
Ed lives in Atlanta.
What's he doing?
Nothing. He's more or less retired. He doesn't do anything. He had a stroke, you know. He had, it sort of, took its toll on him, right? So he doesn't get around like most of us anymore. He's not as swift at getting around. But he did come to, we organized the Mississippi Veterans of the Civil Rights Movement, and he was acknowledged as a member of that organization. We had a conference last March, our first annual conference, at which a lot of the old activists came, Ed came, and
You know, one of my deepest involvements in Mississippi was, well, it actually was related to it, but it was with the battle over CDGM.
oh,
As
okay.
you remember.
Oh, yes, I do. Mhm.
And I'm very proud of the role that the Field Foundation was able to play there. We kept the Friends of the Children of Mississippi alive.
Mhm. Friends of Children, yeah, I remember that.
Gay, the Friends of the Children of Mississippi were this ragtag group of counties which, it's a long story, but they were out of all federal funding for their Head Start programs, and they kept the centers open.
Open. Mhm.
And I'm very proud of the fact that we helped them. I was sending $30,000 a month down to Mississippi for FCM.
Mhm.
Did that for a year or more. And FCM today is the biggest Head Start program in the state, am I not right?
I believe that's true. I think that's,
And,
who was that, that came?
Marvin Hogan,
Oh, yeah, Marvin Hogan is still there.
he's still there.
He's still the director.
this guy,
Marvin
Marvin Hogan, I just, do you know him?
Mm-hmm.
When I first met Marvin Hogan, I just said to myself, well, this man's not here for long. He is too much of a executive to stay here for long. Well, he has stayed there.
He survived.
He has, and he has made this into the biggest Head Start program around the state.
That is so.
And he has,
That is so.
he's had a lot of help from his wife. What is,
Who is that that's out in Oakland that came to the conference? Do you remember who that was?
Sure don't.
I interviewed him, but he was a former director of Friends of Children. And he did a tour of duty in Massachusetts for a while.
you mean,
What was his-
Fred Mangrum?
Fred Mangrum. Absolutely.
Oh,
That's it.
You
Fred
inter-
came.
You interviewed Fred?
Yeah. Oh, you know I had to.
Is he in that list?
He should have been. I was looking for his name, but I didn't see it. But I did interview. He came to Mississippi in March.
Oh, Fred. Unlike Marvin, who is a natural born executive,
Fred is not.
but
Fred is
he-
not
He was
a
the,
bureaucrat, so to speak.
no, Fred was
Different
just
type
a,
guy.
he was just a grassroots worker, but he kept those centers open.
Yeah, he did.
Just like, I had a lot of admiration for Fred.
Fred's a good guy.
He didn't know anything from nothing, but he did it all.
Yeah.
Did you interview Brian George at Bowman?
No, I haven't, Gay. In fact, I don't know where Brian George is.
He's right here.
He's here?
He lives here too.
In this building?
Not in this building, but here in Ingleside. He's in room 60, apartment 602.
Oh, for goodness sake.
You want me to tell him you're here?
Yeah, would you be so kind? Tell him I'm here.
Yeah, I'll go over there.
Oh, Brian
Give him a
George.
call.
Yes.
He's doing a lot of work for Counterpart now,
We
so
got
he's
another,
not on much.
Civil rights veteran here, whom you probably know, Mary Jane Patterson.
Mary Jane Patterson. Yes, I know her very well.
She lives here.
Oh, she lives
She
there.
lives as a,
Oh, jeez. Oh, my goodness.
Now, is this History Makers?
Gee.
History Makers Project?
Well, Mississippi Veterans of the Civil Rights Movement.
Oh, I
Mary
see.
Jane.
But that's not part of this History Makers.
No, it is not,
No.
Gay.
Oh, I see.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, well,
Mary Jane Patterson. I haven't seen her, well, since the 70s, probably. Seen her a long time. Well, I'm glad to know that she's still around.
I met Gay the first day we moved in here, walking down the corridor, and there he was.
And there he was.
And he lives next door.
yeah, I'm right next door.
Isn't that something? What's that? Oh, that's fun.
Well, I'm gonna have to go.
You gotta go, Gay?
Yeah, I checked my wife. My wife is not well, and I have to
Oh.
keep an eye on her.
Well, man,
But it's good to see you.
it's good to see you. See, we need to get to talk.
I
We need
didn't
to get
see you
on
at the
tape.
foreman funeral.
Got the
I saw a
wrong.
lot of folks there, but I didn't see you. Couldn't stay.
You didn't stay.
No, I wasn't feeling well, so I slipped out and
Uh-huh.
got my car and came on back. But that was a great occasion, wasn't
Oh, it was.
it? It brought a lot of people
Brought a
together.
lot of people out.
Yeah.
It certainly did. Yes, it did. Well, I'll be back and I'll line up you and Brian George and Mary Jane on the next trip.
Yeah, Brian and Mary Jane.
This is the Ingleside branch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's very good. Yeah.
Now, where are you living now?
I'm living in Jackson.
Are you?
Yeah, I live in Jackson, Mississippi. I was telling Les that on contract with the museum in Jackson. Smith Robinson is the Black Museum.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first black school in Hinds County. And it was turned into a museum in the early 80s.
I see.
Right? And it has now, it has developed an oral history project, which I'm the director of.
You directing that.
Right, and I have done interviews of interesting people, outstanding people, civil rights activists and leaders of one sort or another over the last year and a half. So I've done about 85.
That's gonna be valuable stuff.
Well, yes, I expect, I hope it will be. And I've been able to get a few folks before, you know, they departed, and some have departed, and some of them, a lot of them are still around in various parts of the country. And I have enough health. I don't have a whole lot, but I got enough health to be able to get around.
Yeah, I should say so. And
So-
you got a good memory. Both of you guys have tremendous memory.
Oh, well, there's some things you just don't forget, right, Les?
That's right.
You just don't forget.
I was interviewed by this History Makers thing.
Oh,
And
okay.
about 2 or 3 hours of interview.
Yeah.
And then they got in touch with me a couple months later and said something was wrong with the cameras or
Oh, no.
with the equipment.
Yeah.
And would I do it over
Oh,
again?
my Lord.
At the time, I couldn't do it over again.
Oh.
But I've noticed that they have me listed somewhere, so they must be using part of it
Mhm.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Because I
right.
saw my name on a list. But
Oh, my goodness. Something was wrong with the camera.
something was wrong with the equipment, and it didn't come through the way they wanted it to come through. So, but so this is great. Where will this stuff be?
It'll be housed in
Deposited.
Jackson. Some of it will be, well, I have two, I'm going down two paths. One, Smith Robinson and the city of Jackson will house one set, and Jackson State, in collaboration with the veterans organization I just described, the Mississippi Veterans and Civil Rights Movement,
There's
They will
birds.
be-
I see.
they will have the other.
I see. Well, it's good somebody's recording all that.
Yeah, there isn't, there was a need to do a comprehensive study of the civil rights movement in the state of Mississippi by a entity in the state. So between Jackson State and Tougaloo, they're combining to do one effort, and Smith Robinson, under the city of Jackson, is trying to do the other. You know. Actually, we'd like to get the museum liberated and get it as a freestanding and endowed institution. So we're working on trying to do that. Yeah.
Do you have Bob Moses and all those
Oh,
cool
yeah,
folk people?
I have interviewed Bob. Bob's leaving the state in August, actually. He's taught down there for about 10 years now in Jackson. But he's moving, he and his wife are moving to Florida. But I had occasion to do half an interview with him. And hopefully I'll do the other half before he finally departs. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been fun. Some of it's been sad.
Yeah.
Some of it's been very tiring, right? And some of it has been very educational, right? I've learned a lot, and I've been in the state 41 years.
Oh, my goodness. You never left, huh?
Never left.
Just stayed right down there.
41 years. Yep.
Well, you came there
41
about,
years.
the back of my head, I
65.
remember the Delta ministry set up in 65.
We set up CDGM, the Child Development Group of Mississippi. You remember, that was the first Head Start
Sure.
program. We did that. Then we went in the
Polly
air base.
Greenberg,
Polly Greenberg.
Yeah, I remember her.
you know, things were, this story is almost unbelievable, but it is true. I was still at SRC. This would have been early 65, then maybe the summer of 65.
Mm-hmm.
OEO called me and they gotta get we need applications for this Head Start program. And we're pulling together a bunch of people, talking to them about the Head Start program and what they might do for it and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
In Mississippi, and they need a place to meet. Okay, they can meet here. So they all, OEO and Polly Greenberg was involved.
Right.
Organized this thing some all day Saturday at the SRC. I gave them a conference room.
Yeah.
And they said, And these people were writing up applications
Absolutely.
right there on the spot.
Sure.
Polly was telling them, you do this, you do that.
Exactly. Well, we did,
And that's, in that kind of impromptu
but that's the
fashion.
way you function. Because we did the Head Start proposal for Bolivar County, right? In AMSI's front room,
Yeah,
right? In 2 days. And then we went to Sunflower County and did sunflower application to OEO the same kind of way.
I didn't have anything to do with writing these applications, but they were using my help.
Yeah.
So I drifted in, I went downtown and just watch it. And,
Yeah.
I was just,
In a way, it was marvelous.
it was marvelous.
And you just didn't, you didn't stop. You just kept right on going. And you didn't have time to worry about how good it was being done, or, should we be afraid of doing this, or afraid, you just went on and did it. That's right.
It probably was as well done as. more
Probably
fancy.
better.
Well, it succeeded to a degree. Yep.
It's good to see you, man.
Yay, man.
God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
You made a great contribution.
Well,
Yes,
I don't
sir.
know about that, but I saw a lot of things happen.
Did you
in my
remember
town.
my brother, Jacques
Did I?
Wilmore?
Did I?
He was with United States Civil Rights Commission out of Memphis.
Oh, vaguely.
Vaguely,
Vaguely.
Because he and Carl Holman worked together, I think, for,
In New York?
I don't know if it was in New York or in Memphis, but
Washington.
D.C.?
it was in D.C.? I don't remember, but I know
Was he
mentions
younger than
him.
you, or?
Oh, yeah, he's younger.
He was younger than you?
Yeah,
I remember the name,
yeah,
but don't ask me the circumstances.
yeah.
I never.
He was the Civil Rights
You
Commission.
men
He
never.
was on the Civil Rights Commission?
Yeah, he was the head of the Civil Rights Commission office in Memphis
Oh, jeez.
during those years.
During
Yeah.
those years.
He also worked in New England.
In New England?
Yeah, with the Civil Rights Commission. up
Is
there,
that right?
too,
Oh, my goodness.
yeah. Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'm
He's in
coming back.
Tanzania now.
He's in Tanzania?
Been living there for 25 years.
Is that right?
In Africa, yeah.
Oh, my.
Well, I'll see you again.
You
when you
will.
come by.
I'll be back to see you.
All right.
All right? Yes,
See ya.
sir, I will.
Wait, okay.
Nice to meet
You
you.
too, sir, Mr. Gage.
I'll be back to see you.
Okay.
And when you tell Brian George, tell him I'm still alive.
Yeah, I'll call Brian
You-
now.
you-
Tell
you
him
know
you're
he-
over here. How
he-
long you
he-
gonna be here?
You know he never did like me, Gay. You know
No?
that? No, so don't.
Well, he's a funny guy.
I know it. he
You know
is.
Brian.
Well, they say that about me. I'm a funny guy too.
I'm gonna stay home for a minute, because I'm only.
All right, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
Good to see you, Gay.
All right, good to see you.
Well, young lady,
Pause. We're done?
we're done.